Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk about how the UK is currently demoralised and how it hasn't always been this way. And if you understand about demoralisation, it's a tactic from communist propaganda basically, where instead of invading a country with weapons and warfare, you go in and you use ideological subversion. So for an example, you can come into the UK and start attacking the natives and saying that everybody's a racist and attacking the culture, attacking the history. And then with time, you constantly attack the native culture and demoralize them so that you can eventually defeat them and then implement whatever agenda you have. And right now, I would say in the UK, we are at peak demoralization. Most people are fed up with the state of the country, the state of the work life, just the state of everything is a complete and utter decay. And myself, I'm almost 40 years old. So I grew up in a time where things were a lot better. And I think young people now, anybody who's 18 to 21, probably have never realized what a reasonably normal society would be like. For an example, when I grew up, all the TV shows when I was a kid was talking about unity, and it was talking about coming together rather than dividing us. So you'd have like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, which was all about Will Smith and Carlton, and it was all about them uniting with people and teaching valuable lessons. We had TV shows such as Saved by the Bell, and all of these programs are always talking about unity and positive things rather than trying to divide us. You even had films like Remember the Titans, American History X, and they're always teaching how people shouldn't be ignorant and how we can unite together as humanity rather than be divided. And what you also would have, you'd have good movements that would stand up to racism. So you would have movements just saying to people, don't be mean, don't be racist. Because like, for example, in football, if black people went to football matches, they would suffer racial abuse. Even the players would get bananas thrown at them and all this stuff, which is obviously completely unacceptable for anybody who plays or attends football matches should not have to suffer any racism. And as time went on, the movement gathered or grew, and then it was a good movement because it was teaching people to not be ignorant and hate other people just because of the color of their skin. So they were movements that you could get behind. Whereas now the movements are not they're sneaky. They pretend to be anti-racism, but really they've switched the racism to hate white people and hate the natives. Because it's not about helping black people, it's about implementing communism, and they use and set the two sides against each other. And also you'd have morning TV. And morning TV used to be great fun. I used to watch a program or a breakfast show called The Big Breakfast when I used to go to school, or before I used to go to school. And it was fun. They'd be mucking about. It'd be mostly comedy. It would be no PC rubbish. And I used to love it. I used to love my mornings watching The Big Breakfast before I went to school or before I went to work when I started working.
No, you lost. Fine line between... Are we going to see a rematch between you and the Big Show? He came out. Listen to what he did. Answer the question. Answer the question. Are we going to see a rematch between you and the Big Show, our pet fighter on this show here?
Well, you know what? Probably not. I'm all for it.
Just calm it down. Wow. I think I just witnessed the first eye there. Intensity. Okay, come on, show integrity, yeah? Okay, here we go.
Whereas what you have now is all of the morning shows, it's all bombarded with news shows or like chat shows, but they're always having pointless arguments. It's sort of like the Piers Morgan model, where Piers Morgan goes on, he's a complete drama queen, and he'll get somebody from one side and somebody from the other, and they just pointlessly argue. Or you just have every channel is basically like news, and you have 24-hour news, where they just bombard you with their own propaganda. Because this idea of 24-hour news that we see everywhere and that everybody watches, or most people watch, this never used to be the case. You just used to have the 6 o'clock news and, I don't know, the morning news, or on the Big Breakfast Show, they'd have on the hour, every hour, they just have a 2-minute update. Oh, this is the news, blah, blah, blah. No one really cares. And then you get on with the fun. But now they're obsessed with the news because they have to propagandize and brainwash everybody. And another thing is the economy wasn't too bad. Back when I started work 20 years ago now, when I was 18, you would go to work and things would be relatively chilled. So you'd work hard, but you'd have time to stop and have a 5-minute chat when you went to make a cup of tea. We'd have afternoons off work where we'd do games, we'd have fun, and you wouldn't feel like pressure, pressure, pressure. Whereas now, because of the state of the economy and everything that's going on in the country, is pressure, pressure, pressure. Get the job done, get the job done. We don't have time to spend half a day having fun events and all this stuff. It's just pressure. If you look at teachers, if you look at nurses and all jobs, everyone I speak to, it's pressure, pressure, pressure. You don't have a moment's rest. Whereas, as I say, when the economy was better and we didn't have all this corruption, going to work was a reasonably enjoyable experience. And I think one of the misconfusions or the confusions people have is everybody's saying, I need to escape my 9 to 5. But really, the way I see it is we need to restore things correctly so that people can go to their 9 to 5 and enjoy it and not feel rushed off their feet. I think we are like children born to abusive parents. We're born into an abusive society and we think it's normal to be used and abused. But if we had good parents or good leaders in the society, we could go to work and feel fulfilled. So teachers, nurses and shop workers, everybody could go to work and feel valued. They enjoy going to work. But the problem is not the 9 to 5. The problem is the abusive people in power abusing us. And obviously I'm not young anymore, but I'm probably sure that the education system is a mess and children who have to go to school facing similar problems with the education system, less from workload, but more with propaganda. I'm sure, and I know actually, just from hearing people speak, that the schools are full of propaganda, especially to brainwash to hate our native countries and also to be weak and pathetic globalist puppets rather than proud people who are proud of our heritage and who are going to stand up for their native countries, whether you be English, American, Nigerian, whatever, Indian. All these Marxist ideology is going on all over the world in all countries because it's a globalist plan. And that's the reason I'm doing this video, just to say it's not always been this way and it definitely is not supposed to be this way. And ultimately, what can we do to change things? We need to understand our enemy, which is the ideological subversion. And we need to work at pushing back against that and implementing a new system, not a great reset, but a spiritual reset is what we need. And rather than being slaves to abusive masters, if we can input spiritual masters, then the people will be freed and they will live happy lives and fulfilled and purposeful lives rather than be slaves in a great reset. They'll be servants, happy servants to spiritual masters and a spiritual father who will be guiding the spiritual masters. And that's all we need. We just need new leadership. If we got rid of this abusive, like if you have an abusive parent, if you remove the abusive parent and put that child into a loving family with loving parents, all of a sudden that child will be like, so I'm not supposed to be abused. I'm not supposed to be beat up every day and verbally assaulted and verbally abused all day. And they'll be like, oh my God, that's what our country and our citizens will be like. If we have good leaders, people will be like, oh, so I'm not supposed to be poor. I'm not supposed to be depressed. I'm not supposed to be abused or run down at work. I'm not supposed to have my native country attacked and my culture attacked. I'm not supposed to be told I'm a racist and all this stuff. People will not believe how good life is supposed to be when we're guided by spiritual people who know the Father and who guide the Father, being led by people such as Jesus Christ or men of Christ, rather than blind spiritual fools. Okay, so that's the point of my video today, just to let especially the young people know it's not always been this way and it doesn't have to be this way and it absolutely shouldn't be this way. And we need to make changes, and that's what my channel is all about. So if you're new to the channel, subscribe to the channel, because this is where the ideas and hopefully going forward plans can hopefully be made from a worldly point of view into putting these ideas into actual action rather than just words. And if you like the video, like it, share it with as many people possible to let people know that we do not need to be abused in this system. And comment below if you have any comments, and